Hey there, introverts and deep thinkers. Welcome to Introverts Unmuted, the podcast where we prove that quiet doesn't mean invisible and deep thoughts deserve a mic. If you've ever felt drained by small talk, mastered the art of sneaking out of the room, or wish the world understood the magic of solitude, this is your space. We dive into everything from navigating social energy to embracing creativity, confidence, and the unique power of being an introvert. So get comfy, plug in, and let's turn up the volume on our quiet confidence. I'm Amber Hansel, and this is Introverts Unmuted. Today I have with me Abbey. I'm so happy to chat with you. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm just like smiling about your intro because it's just like, hi, that's me.
Yeah, exactly. And that is like introverts totally get that. You know, we want to hide. We want to sneak out when things get awkward or too loud. So I know that you are a therapist, a coach, subconscious change expert who helps women, especially introverts. So tell me more about how did you start as, I'm assuming you probably started as a therapist and then things evolved.
Yeah. So, I graduated undergrad and thought like, where am I going to go? Like, what do I want to do? And so long story short, I ended up becoming a therapist, which is what I always wanted to do. But there was like many hurdles and things in between there. And I think that's just part of life is we have to look at things in different seasons and how do we get there? And thinking about like going into grad school where you had to, as an introvert, you had to role play things and like be put on the spot in your whole class and you had to pretend you were the therapist and then you were, the client and talk about like nervous sweating going into the classroom as like an introvert and being like, wait, I have to do what? But there's things in life that you work through. And I had a coach and therapist at the time that helped me like develop tools and things to get through those moments where you're like, great, I have to show up. Like I need to do this. It's for my assignments for me to graduate. But when it comes to your business, like what are you going to do when there's times where you need to go to that networking event and they call on you?
Yeah, I think it's the most like anxiety ridden, sweat worthy with improv. One of my past episodes, I actually talked to an introvert who does improv and her strategy behind it. And so it's very interesting how everyone takes a different approach to it. And really, I love how you had a therapist and you have a coach work through this with you. And I think that's where it's so important is that you have support in this journey as an introvert and to really experience things so that you don't feel like you miss out because you are hiding behind your introvertness.
Yeah. And I think there's times I was just talking to a client about this and they were like, I have social anxiety. And I'm like, maybe you don't. Like, what made you decide that you do? Maybe the setting you were in was not the setting that you were meant to be in too. Like thinking about our interests, like, sure, we want to push out of our comfort zone if there's a reason to and an intention to, but then there's times where that just might not be our people. And that's okay. If that's not our people, that's okay. I like to tell a story. I actually had to work with my therapist how to have those surface level conversations because I didn't know how to do it. I like had to practice it to like go out to dinner with friends in a way because I wanted to get to like the deep conversation. If not, it was draining to me and I was exhausted. I was like, well, why did I even go out? Was the dinner even good? So like recognizing too, to be confident in myself that maybe they aren't even my people anymore. I've outgrown them and that's okay.
Yeah. I think that's the really powerful is understanding what's going to drain us and what's going to fuel us. Many of us, those meaningful conversations are what's going to fuel us and keep us going. And when people are stuck at the surface level and we keep trying to go deeper and they're not, then just understanding, okay, well, we're not a fit right now and that's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I think about that with like networking groups. If we want to talk business, there's just some that I go and I'm like, that's okay. That's just not where I feel good about, where I'm like sitting there and I'm really like nervous sweating. I'm like, are they going to, especially the virtual ones? I'm like, are they going to call me next? When are they going to call me? Am I ready? Am I not ready? Oh, great. Now they called me and I'm not ready, and I realized like it's okay for them to not, that might not be the setting for me. Finding different settings and trying different things and sandwiching after I do something like that or before I do that with something that feels good to me to reset my energy, not like hop into the very next thing.
Yeah, I definitely find there's a ritual before and after to really help us stay balanced and at this homeostasis of energy where we can keep going. Because we have life outside of all the other things that we're doing that require our energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like with the subconscious work that I do, like not only for myself, but with clients is, I have subliminals that you can listen to in the car, or like if you're taking the train, you can listen to it on the way to an event, to just reinforce that confidence. And they can be customized for people if you have something very specific that you want to really remember and recall and bring up, and how you're going to stand in your power for different things. And that, like I've created them for myself, and it's been helpful to like go in and just be like, oh, I'm just going to this event. I don't know anyone there, which is the scariest thing. Used to be the scariest thing for me. Now I'm like, I just went to this networking event and I was so calm until like I got there and I was like, wait, I wasn't nervous. Like, this is weird. I'm not sweating. I don't have the air conditioning cranked up, so I'm not all sweaty and what have you. And, like these little tools can be helpful.
Yeah, and I think it's those little moments leading up to the thing, whether you're going to an event or maybe you're getting on a call or hitting up a virtual networking event. It is the moments of being prepared and stepping back and go, what helps me in this time? And really leaning more into our own inner strength.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the reflection, I think, after, like, was this a good fit? Like taking the time to go, you know what, maybe like thinking back to the client, like maybe this group of people, is not my people. And it was like a hobby interest, and it's like, yeah, maybe it's, you don't have to, you get to choose.
Yeah. And I think understanding then you can set boundaries around, okay, well, I'm not going to be around those people, or maybe only see them certain times doing certain activities.
Yeah.
And really setting in those boundaries to help us, be more authentic and more true to ourselves.
Yeah. That, and not over scheduling yourself too. So you have that time, right? That time to recharge, whatever it is, and not just dash to the next thing. I feel like oftentimes we're told like we shouldn't take that time, or like we need special permission. And it's not like it's physically exhausting for me sometimes, where I'm like, oh, I just like feel completely drained. I don't want to sit. I don't want to stand. I'm just exhausted, but I got to keep going. No, I don't. I can slow down and take that time.
Yeah, I think it's pushing back against society's expectations of this hustle of keep going, go, go, go. Well, no, you can step back and say, hey, I'm only going to do one event, like in-person event this week, and then I'm good. And maybe I'll do one, virtual event, but they're not going to be on the same day, and there's going to be days apart. And then maybe I don't have client calls all in one day. Really spreading out your workflow is going to really benefit you in the best way.
Yeah, especially like thinking about like clients back to back, and then you want to go home and be a human.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like we have, lives at home. There's kids, there's chores, there's cleaning, there's all of the mental load that also has to take place beyond everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when we decide to show up like at these events and when we are spaced out, we get to show up in our best selves and not the exhausted state.
Right.
And then we wonder why we are there. It's because we are exhausted.
Like why I'm not building like a relationship here, or why is my relationships with my friends or my family struggling? Because wait, I've been going at such a capacity and I'm not taking that time and I'm just pushing along, and my introverted self needs more time, needs quiet.
Yeah, and I think it's really about rewriting that story that we can't take that time. So, what are ways where we can help rewrite our subconscious slowly and stepping into our full confidence?
Yeah, I think there's one thing that's really helpful is taking micro moments throughout the day too, where you're disconnecting. You're like, okay, I'm not working on this work thing or in between clients, and then you're like scrolling on your phone. Instead of doing that, like checking in with yourself, like journaling or just going out for a walk and being in nature, I think can be helpful. Like you can do that in 5-10 minutes, and that can really recharge an introvert. When it comes to working with the subconscious, one, like you can do some hypnosis work if you want. Some of it is reframing what that means to you. Like when you're saying, I should, or I have to, like I choose to, I get to, can be helpful in starting to reframe. Like I get to take these 10 minutes today, or like I choose to take these 10 minutes to recharge, or hopefully even longer than just 10 minutes, right? Can really start like fine-tuning your subconscious, and then think about, where are these stories coming from? Are these stories coming from the people that are surrounding you? Is it coming from social media and you're trying to compare yourself to others and you really don't see what they're doing? Are you comparing yourself to someone who's really extroverted too, and you're not going to keep up with them, and that's okay? So where are the stories of like how you're leading your life and leading your business? Who are they coming from? And are those really true for you? And if you're like, well, some pieces are true for me, I do like doing more in-person events, but it means I have to sandwich it with these other things to keep my, feeling connected, or those have to be deeply connected events.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just understand where the stories are coming from. What are we continually to tell ourselves? And I think scrolling is the worst thing possible, especially online, and we catch ourselves doing it, but it just gets in your brain. And the best thing is to get offline and really focus on you. And I think that we forget to do that because everyone's like, yeah, it's you, journal, meditate, do yoga, go to the gym. But like, what is the purpose behind it?
Yeah, what's the purpose? And are you just filling that time with something else? Maybe those things don't align with you. Maybe yoga isn't your thing. And someone's been like, do the yoga. Yoga's going to make you feel better. Or journal. Like, I think journaling is fantastic, but that's not going to be for everyone. And there's different types of journaling. And honestly, I think the best thing is to do nothing, which is really uncomfortable if you've been someone who's done all the things. I remember going to yoga years ago, and I went with a friend of mine. She was high energy, extrovert. She could not lay in Shavasana. She would leave. Like, they'd be like, okay, everyone lay down. And she would get up and leave. And I'd be like, what? She'd be like, and we would drive together. She's like, come on, we got to go. I'm like, that's my favorite part. She's like, I can't lay there. And that's okay. But if you can like give yourself, this way, start small, like give yourself these small windows of doing nothing, like clearing, like you think about gardening, you have to like clear out some stuff when you're gardening, and like not put anything really there, to let what needs to grow. If you're going to like plant more, like that's just going to whelm what you're trying to grow. So really, all those things are great, but sometimes it's just like the do nothing. Sit and like drink your cup of coffee and watch the steam rise and just like take it in for a few moments. And then you can build that. The more you practice that, the easier it becomes. And the easier and the more you can find moments to do that.
Mm-hmm. That is one of my favorite things to do is nothing. And it took me a while, but like when I get my first cup of coffee in the morning, I just stand there.
Mm-hmm.
I just stand there. I might look out the window. I might only get 2 minutes before chaos is erupting around me. I have 2 boys. There's a puppy. There's things, but that is what is just like, yes, I get this. And then I work them, throughout the day. And I think that's important as an introvert. People are like, okay, well, I have my morning routine. Maybe I do a little bit at night. That is not enough for us. Mm-hmm. And as soon as, I realized that, that one time in the morning of this morning routine that's all magical does not fix me for the entire day. It does not do anything. It does for a time, but it's understanding those micro moments, as you said, throughout the day that is really going to keep giving you energy and propelling you forward.
Mm-hmm. And I think you brought up the great thing about kids too, is you can teach kids this. Will it be harder? Sometimes, yes. But, like pulling out, like, I have a high energy 3-year-old, but I was like, I need a few moments. And I was like, I'll pull out the Play-Doh. I can get her to do Play-Doh and I will do it because to me, it's very relaxing. What else can I do to model for her and show her like other things? We're out in nature a lot. And I'll just be like, what do you hear right now? And she's like, I hear nature. Now she's older. She can say more. She's like, I hear the birds and I hear the crickets, whatever. But like that right there is recharging. That is something that's recharging to me that I make sure I do with her at least weekly. And anytime I'm like, all right, it's time to go outside. Like we're going, it's raining, we're going, like things like that to show and model them. But then it's giving me that break, that breath. Then we can go back to the chaos of the toys everywhere and whatever else is going on and the rushing to make dinner and things like that. But having those moments and trying to show your kids, and they might have different things. So like, maybe, I don't know what your boys like, but maybe it's something different. And you're like, okay, how can I get creative? And this is great to have people to talk with that aren't you, that can go, okay, they like to do this. And you're like, oh, that's a little bit too much. But how can you kind of come together to make something happen that you guys can do together that gives you the time to recharge and gives them feeling like they're connected and that they're doing something for themselves too?
Yeah, I used to, when my kids were a little bit younger, is coloring was a big one, is that we could do together. Occasionally building Lego and just like building things, Play-Doh. My oldest is like a slime. He is into slime. It's all over my house. I've accepted it because if he doesn't get it, then he just makes it. And I also have realized too, sometimes my kids are with me in the kitchen and sometimes they're not. But baking to me, like I got into the sourdough. I was resistant, but now I am in. And even just last night, I was like, oh man, I don't have any bread and I'm not going to make it to the store. The kids need lunch. I made buns last night, homemade buns at like 9:00 last night. They were done for lunches today. And that to me gives me like, I want to bake and I want to make things.
Yeah.
And that's fuel. And once you realize, oh man, that does give me energy. And yeah, sometimes my kids come in with me and join me and help add things. And sometimes it adds to the chaos, but sometimes it doesn't.
But when you get your hands in the sticky dough and you're like kneading it and folding it and whatever, it's just that those little micro moments too. Even if they were there and they spilled the flour all over the place, you're like, but I have this moment. This feels really good and it's going to smell amazing cooking. And I'm going to like soak all that in. I'm going to pretend there's not flour on the floor for a few moments and it's okay. And then you can come back to it.
Yeah, I think it's really just leaning into those. I'm really attaching to the word micro moments because that's what they are. And that's what takes us through our day and helps us feel grateful for all of these smaller things, helping us grow and acknowledge more about ourselves.
Yeah. And I was thinking as we're talking about this, if you have people in your life that you are partnered with, or your kids, or you see on a regular basis that are extroverts, communicating and getting really clear, like what you need. Like, I'm going to make the sourdough, but I need some quiet. And this is what I mean by quiet, like really getting clear, or like what time you're going to make the sourdough, so they can understand that, like, okay, Amber's not available during this time because she needs this time, and here's why. And getting clear, and you're going to have to remind people, like, hey, like this is too much for me, or using the words that make sense to you. But I think that's a really good point to share with people, is to communicate and be clear. Maybe sometimes ask them, like, well, what do you hear me saying right now? Oh, you're just going to go make some sourdough. And you're like, no. This is like my time. I really need, especially if it's been like a super long day and you're like, no, like, I really need quiet. You're like, oh, I'll put on that show that keeps the boys out of the kitchen right now. Here are all the snacks, like whatever you need to do, because you really need that time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that communication is so strong. And I find too, like summer weekends, we are a camping family, and I, will go with other people. And I used to feel guilty if I wanted to step away from, the people and from my friends. And lately I'm just like, no, I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna go chill.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't say anything sometimes, and I just leave the area and go find my hammock and chill.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, I'll be back. And that, I think it's understanding the communication and not feeling guilty about communicating your needs.
Yeah. And that's, again, another, like, the guilt comes from somewhere in a story that you've been told, or that, you were shamed for taking that time, or whatever it might be. I have a lot of clients that are teachers, and I'm like, don't go into the teacher's lounge. And they're like, what? And their lives shift completely. I'm like, if you want to be social, go. I feel like so many of my teachers need that recharge. I'm like, don't go into the teacher's lounge. And in your room, if you've got a window, turn your lights off and put like poster board up and pretend you're not even there. Or if you can leave the building, go sit in your car. I probably have millions of people that sit in their cars all the time. It's an introvert's heaven.
So, you know what? When my kids were younger and they fell asleep in the car, and then you just get to sit there. Oh man, every mom and introvert just like love it.
Oh, yes.
Love. I will sit in my driveway in my car. It's fine.
Yeah, I know. I almost, like, my daughter wasn't going down for her nap, and I was like, do I throw her in the car and just drive around and put music on? And when she falls asleep, I can sit. I live like on an island, so I can sit like under one of the bridges and just like look at the water. It's like, do I do that today? I might have to. And then she finally fell asleep. But yeah, the car is like, when I've worked other jobs, the car, I was like, all right, I'm going to get a coffee. And sometimes I wouldn't. I would just go sit in my car.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's the power of setting that boundary and communicating it and just going, this is what I'm doing for myself, and being selfish. Because when we're selfish and, protecting ourselves, it really benefits everybody around us. We're a lot happier. We have the energy to give. It's a much better place.
Mm-hmm. And I block it in my, when I worked in an office, when I had like my office setting and I had like an administrator, I would block in my calendar. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have like a phone call. And I didn't, until she really got to know me. And I was like, no, I really I need that half hour. Don't knock on my door. I'm not here. Pretend I'm in a meeting. So that's why I would always put it in as a meeting. And I knew what it was, and I knew I wasn't going to fill it, because my personal calendar, I'd put why I put that block out in there. And then for her, she just was like, oh, Abby's in a meeting. She, wouldn't ask. And then no one was knocking on my door during that time because I needed those like 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where, it's important to go, hey, I need that time, and block it out and communicate and go, hey, like whether you're at home with your kids, your husband, your significant other, and go, hey, guess what? I have what my kids call it mom's timeout chair. But there's a chair in my master bedroom, and it's my reading chair. It's by a window that looks into our garden. It's got my books, it's got my stuff. And when I'm there, my kids know, oh, we don't go bug mom.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that. Like, and I work from home. So I just take those few moments. Like when I'm done, if I was like done at 4:00 today, I'm not done at 4:00. I sit for a little bit and, just try and clear my head or do whatever. Sometimes I read my book, sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I do nothing and stare at the wall until I'm like, okay, now I can go into the other room and show up. Because I think of it as like, if I was driving home from work, I would have that time. I'm not driving home from work anymore, but I still deserve that time to like transition and become who I need to be when I walk through that doorway.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important transition, especially for so many people that work at home, is going, from work to home when they're the same place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's having that transition period is what's really going to switch things.
Yeah. And also it's okay. I feel like it's okay if you have plans to go out and your introverted self is like, it's been a week. It's okay to cancel those plans. Like you decide. Are you pushing it? On the flip side of that, if you're always canceling, like what is that showing you during the week, or the group of people or whatever that activity? So like reflection, but I think also we need to give ourselves permission to say like no to events or that we can cancel because we're not going to show up in our best way, or we know like that's really going to like drain our battery all the way, and what we have planned tomorrow, we're not going to be able to do.
Yeah. I think it's just that understanding of like where our energy is throughout the whole week and how we can set the boundaries and communicate so that we can show up in our best selves with the confidence that we need for each of these things.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. This was such a good conversation, you guys. There was so much that was talked about here. So, Abby, where can we connect with you to keep this conversation going?
Yeah, you can head to my website, which is evolvingwhole.com, and you can find me there. I'm on Instagram under the same name, Facebook, TikTok, which I'm really not on, but find me there. I have a newsletter. If you're interested, you can sign up and get updates for whether I have some workshops or some hypnosis tools. There's one coming up on confidence, so that would be a great one. And you can listen to it at any time. You can fit it into like your workday.
Perfect. So I will have all the links in the show notes. So make sure that you go click and follow and connect with Abby. Thank you so much for coming on to chat today.
Thank you.